welcome back on Sport Vitamins for episode 42. Today's guest is Coach James Davis III, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Strength and Conditioning Coach with more than 15 years of experience at many levels, including the NBA. Coach Davis currently is the head performance coach at Overtime Elite. Overtime Elite is an Atlanta-based basketball league aimed at offering the world's most talented young basketball players a better pathway to becoming professional athletes. This league recruits high school juniors and seniors, as well as post-grad players up to the age of 20 years old. Many stars and NBA players has invested into the league, including Devin Booker, Klay, Thompson, Trae Young, and Drake. So, very interesting project, and we're looking forward to hearing from Coach Davis. So, without further ado, guys, here's episode 42 with Coach Davis. James, welcome on Sport Vitamins.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm really excited to have you on today. You guys are doing an amazing job at Overtime Elite. But as always, why don't we start with a little bit of a rundown on your background?
All right. Again, I'm James Davis, and I am a physical therapist and strength and conditioning coach, originally from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I've kind of bounced around. Went to school in Texas, played ball in Texas, played basketball in Texas. I actually played basketball in Lithuania for a season. I had really good friends, college teammates who were Lithuanian. And so it was really cool to see where they were from. Came back, I knew I didn't want to sit in a chair all day, be in an office all day. And so I thought I wanted to teach and coach, and I really loved the coaching part. I didn't necessarily like the teaching part, just because our school system needs a lot of work. That's a conversation for another time. We won't have to get into that, but so moved back home. I was in Texas teaching and coaching, and then I moved back to Oklahoma City and started my career in the health and fitness industry at a big box gym. Opened my own training facility with my fiance in like 2 years after I started, and we did that for 12 years. During that time, I moved to Philly. I was the assistant strength and conditioning coach for the 76ers in the NBA, and I did that for a couple of years, went back home, really focused on the gym, got into physical therapy school, and just wanted to up my game. And shortly after that, moved back to Texas, worked in a clinic until I came to Atlanta for Overtime Elite. And I haven't worked a day since I moved to Atlanta. I love it. The guys are great. I love the people I work with. It's just a great situation.
Can you please tell us something about being a performance coach? Because you were a strength coach first, then an athletic trainer, and now you're a performance coach. What does differentiate this role from the previous ones that you had?
So I guess because I was an athlete, I am an athlete. I still kind of fancy myself an athlete. I will be forever. But I think it's all kind of one thing. Is just different ends of the spectrum. I shouldn't even say ends. It's just different locations in that spectrum, because I don't think the two are extremely far away. We were made to move, and I think being able to squat and to rotate and to throw things and to jump and sprint, as fast as you can. I think all of those things are important for a healthy lifestyle, to keep us going. When we turn 95, if we're doing that for as long as we can, I just believe that we won't be so broken down that we can't move once we get up there. So it's just again, that continuum. It just depends on where you have to meet someone along that continuum. But I really don't see such a big difference in the way that you approach things, as far as the kinds of things that you have people do. Of course, some people are going to be a lot more advanced, and they'll be able to really move towards that end of what most people consider performance training. Some people you'll have to start them from scratch.
Got it. And being able to wear so different hats, like being an athletic trainer and a strength coach at the same time, how much of this help you working now with a young athletes?
I think I started in the exercise realm, and I think that really gave me a leg up once I got into the physical therapy side. And I have friends who have been physical therapists for a really long time, and that is the one thing that they used to tell me all the time when I started talking about going to physical therapy school. They said, it's going to really help you, because I think over here that's something that physical therapists don't get a lot of. As far as exercise, it's very much on the conservative therapeutic exercise end is what you learn in school. And so I think having my background, it really helped me out. And with my guys, it's, I can go from pure performance training to, a pure rehab clinical mindset, in the same day, in the same session, even if we have to. So I think it's helped me tremendously.
Yeah, you got a lot of weapons with you, right?
Right.
No, that's great. That's great. So you said that you worked for a few years in the NBA. Can you tell us something about that experience?
Yeah, I'm really glad I did it. It's really a different world. You hear about it, and of course, I knew people who were in it already, and they kind of gave me some advice. Actually, I was told, try to get a college job first rather than an NBA job. But of course, I needed to see for myself. And I would say my experience was 90% great. I mean, it was really good to kind of see that world from the inside. And then there was about 10% where it kind of made you think about whether or not you really wanted to do it for a long period of time. It's just the one thing that people would tell me is it's really hard on families, and I don't have one, but I do have a fiance that, and my family, I'm very close to my family, my mom, my brothers, my grandmothers, and you don't get to be home on the holidays. You're on a plane every other day, so it's a tough lifestyle to adjust to. And so that was the thing that I started to miss most.
Yeah, I got it. And how smooth was the transition from working with the professional athletes in the NBA to working with youth athletes now at Overtime?
It was pretty seamless. I like to, even when I own my gym, we treated our youngsters the same way that we treated our pros. I mean, as far as the mindset goes, we wanted them to be serious, and we wanted to educate them as much as possible on how to take care of their bodies. And I was doing the same thing in the NBA. I'm doing the same thing now. So that transition was pretty much zero.
And yeah, going back to the NBA, which were some of the biggest challenges that you faced working with professional athletes?
The nature of the NBA schedule makes it really difficult to get into the actual performance training. A lot of times you're trying to make sure guys feel good so that they can go and play, because you might play 4 games in 5 days, and you might cross time zones. In out of a 7-day week, you might cross time zones 3 or 4 times. So trying to make sure that they understand that they have to rest, and that sometimes getting in the weight room or working out, period, maybe even getting on the court for extra work, is not the thing that they should be doing. Sometimes you should just go to sleep. and then the time that you have, because guys need to be really good at basketball. So that's where the bulk of their time is spent. Any extra time is spent, with the coaches watching film. And so it's difficult to try to find chunks of time to really be effective with the guy. So you have to get creative.
And I guess also very, very efficient.
Right, right.
And what's one lesson that you learned in the NBA working with professional athletes that you're using now with your young athletes?
That's a good one. That's something that that I'll hold with me forever. You have to be like water. You have to be ready to switch whatever you're doing at the drop of a hat. Any day, anytime. You have to be fluid, or you won't make it.
Nice. I like it. I like it. So, as you said, now you're working in Atlanta at Overtime Elite Basketball. For those of our listeners that don't know what Overtime Basketball is, can you please explain something about it?
So, Overtime, our parent company, it started as a media company, and they got a really big internet following, just giving exposure to high school athletes from all sports. And the owners decided that they wanted to be disruptors in basketball, and they created this league where our athletes, they make, minimum $100,000 a year to basically eat, sleep, and breathe basketball until they're draft eligible. And so guys can come, as young as 16, they can come to OTE and basically chase that dream. And when it started last year, we only had pros, and now we actually have a scholarship option so that guys don't lose their college eligibility when they sign with Overtime Elite. And so now, the talent pool is even bigger for us, and I think it's something that's going to change the game. The NCAA, it really limits the way that you can earn. Well, now with the NIL deals, it's different, but before the NIL situation started, it really limited your earning power. So you might be some superstar athlete who could have endorsements and all kinds of money coming in, but the NCAA would say no, you can't do that. And so Overtime Elite kind of remedied that, and it's I think it's really going to change the way people look at amateur basketball.
Yeah, what your guys are doing over there is definitely groundbreaking, and you're giving these kids a huge opportunity to experience what a professional life is, and still receiving education and of course elite basketball skills and workouts and an amazing facility. You guys should go on YouTube and check out their facility. It's something unbelievable. It's amazing.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun in there.
Yeah. So, James, can you please tell us something about your duties at Overtime Elite, even though we already touched on this topic a little bit, and what specifically your day-to-day duties are?
Right. So my official title is head performance coach, and my bosses came up with that title because I'm a strength coach and a physical therapist. So I do both. My primary role is in the weight room, and making sure our guys are strong, making sure they're fast, making sure they jump high, all the sexy things. So I have to do maybe 5% of what I don't like to do every day. So I have an amazing job. I get to do about 95% of what I love to do all day, every day. And so in the weight room, we do combine testing. We do all of our performance testing. We have all the toys that you could want. We have force plates. We have 1080 sprint. We have Vault equipment, Nord board, force frame. So we have a lot of tools to make sure that we monitor our guys, just to make sure, one, that we know what normal is, and two, so that if there are any really big deviations from normal, we can intervene accordingly. And we have a really tight-knit team. So I'm a strength coach and a physical therapist. We have 2 other physical therapists. We have 2 athletic trainers. We have a registered dietitian. We have mental health professionals. Everything that our guys need, we have it. So they're well taken care of. And we work closely together with the coaches to make sure that, we're using our time wisely and we're doing what's best for our guys.
Do you also have weekly or monthly meetings with the whole staff?
We do, and we actually have weekly meetings with the entire OTE staff. So I mean the entire overtime staff rather. So we have the overtime office is based in New York. We meet everyone, and then we also at OTE we have meetings with our team, the health performance and development team, and then we have meetings with the coaches and basketball operations as well.
And when you guys have meetings, do you try to go through each player, or you just try to talk about like the whole team as a whole?
So we do both. If a guy is moving along well and everything is great, we won't spend a whole lot of time talking about that. But situations where some kind of intervention is necessary, we might spend a little bit more time talking about those guys. But yeah, we definitely try to touch on each of our players, and then we're actually split into 3 teams.
Okay.
And so we talk about the individual teams as well.
So how many guys do you have this year?
30.
30. Wow, that's a lot.
Yep, 30 guys, 3 teams of 10. And, they, as far as their training goes, in the weight room, they might not necessarily be in at the same time with the same team, with their team. But as far as, on the basketball court, they're with their teams.
And when they work out with you in the weight room, do they work as a team, or they have individual workouts?
So we do both. I try to make myself readily available. In fact, I think one of the biggest successes from last year was when the guys got to the point where they would just call and say, "Hey, can we get in the weight room?" Like that, to me, when you have guys who either aren't familiar with the weight room or didn't necessarily enjoy being in the weight room, and then they start to call you and ask to come into the weight room, I think that's the choir. I can hear the choir singing, when something like that happens. So I think that was the biggest success from last year. But we have set time 4 days a week where they come in and lift as a team, and then they can call me. They all have my cell phone number. They can call me whenever they want to get in there and do some extra work.
That's a great feeling. Even with professional athletes, whenever they ask me what time we work tomorrow, even though a workout is not scheduled, it's a great feeling for me.
Right.
And can you tell us something about your philosophy in the weight room, and can you please walk us through a weightlifting session that you run with your athletes?
Yep. So I really find a lot of beauty in simplicity. So I don't get too fancy. I feel like, people, especially with basketball, I hear a lot, this is how a basketball player should train. And, these guys are tall, and I hear a lot of different things. I feel like, an athlete, I don't care what sport they play, an athlete should be athletic. So, my whole philosophy is about making guys move well. And, once they can move well, you make them strong, and then they'll be able to go and do whatever they want to do, whether they want to play tennis or run track or play basketball, or they'll be able to do it because they're strong and they move well. So that's basically how I approach things. And, with the clinical background, I involve a lot more of that now than I used to. A lot more, I guess, interventions for the joints, to make sure that mobility is good. It used to be about, just making sure that people are strong and fast. And as I've kind of grown in my career, it's definitely something that I think needs to be addressed, especially with young people. They spend a lot of time with poor posture, and when you have tall guys, you can guarantee that, T-spine and ankles and hips probably need a lot of work. So we make sure to focus on those things too.
So,
And go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
And as far as a typical weight room session, we'll start with core work, correctives. Sometimes those things are, they're kind of in circuit in a circuit format. And then we'll move into, like right now, we're doing kind of a French contrast style training. So they'll go from, some heavy movement to a loaded movement that should be powerful. And then they go to an unloaded movement that's even more powerful. So we try to look at, hitting both parts of the stretch shortening cycle. We want slow and we want fast. And so that's what we're doing right now. Depending on the time of year, like once that season ends, once we have a really solid block where they're not doing a lot of basketball, we really focus on, trying to get them bigger and stronger. During the year, they'll touch a lot of heavy weight. Volume will just be low. So we try to not just maintain, strength and power during the season. We actually try to help them get better. So we were pretty successful last year, and we had, let me see, we have, I think, 6 new guys. I think it's 6 new guys, 6 or 7 new guys. And so, with our returners, I'm really excited to see what kind of progress they make this year. And then our new guys, I'm expecting them, because most of them haven't really been in a formal strength training program. So I'm excited to see what's about to happen.
Got it. And working with young athletes, do you try to expose them to a lot of different modalities, a lot of different exercises, or there are just a few exercises that you use? I want to give you an example. When I work with professional athletes, I try to stay away from, I don't know, back squats, Olympic lifts and stuff like that, because I want them to be in shape. I want them to be available for games. But when I work with young athletes that are trying to make it to become pro, I want to expose them to everything, because once they leave me, they need to be ready for whatever. So
Right.
what's your point of view on this?
With that, I really look at that as an individualized decision. Some guys, I have some that they will never have, a bar trying to do an Olympic lift. They're not very good movers. They don't have a lot of mobility, and I feel like there's a lot of other things that we can do that would make their time with me a lot more efficient and a lot more beneficial to them. And so instead of, trying to teach them for, 2 months how to do an Olympic lift with barely any weight on the bar, they can move a little bit of weight, doing something different. They can still be powerful. And so it's one of those things where I look at the risk versus the reward with each one of these guys. And, some guys, they can back squat, and they do. Some guys, the only type of squat that they'll do is maybe a Zercher squat or a goblet squat. So Uh, and that could change, throughout the year. If guys get to the point where, things look a lot better, we can, we can change to different exercises. But as far as just being rigid from the beginning, I really never work that way. I always take a look at what I'm working with and then make that decision, and that decision can change as we go.
Got it. So let's switch gears. I want to talk briefly with you about stress management. How do you make sure that you guys recover from stresses, and how do you make sure that they know how to deal with stresses? Because of course they're young athletes, so they have they need to study, they need to perform, and now over time they're getting paid. So to a certain extent they're professional athletes with all the things that come with it, with all the
Right,
stress that come with earning money to perform on the court.
right. It's a lot of education. I try to spend a lot of time with them, outside of the weight room, outside of the building even. So I think that relationship is important. They need to know that when you say something to them, it's coming from a good place, and so that they will listen. But it's just a constant, and you basically just try to pound it into their heads. You have to make sure you eat, you have to make sure you sleep, you have to make sure that you hydrate. And I think, we've gotten, especially here in the States, people see guys in the NBA, they sit out games sometimes, and that's what people's idea of like sports science is, or load management is. And we try to make them understand that it's not about reduction. We've taken this really reductionist mindset and kind of let it run wild. And so it's about trying to figure out ways that you can train harder for longer so that you can play harder for longer. You have to do that intelligently, but it's about increasing. It's not about reducing. And so, we always tell them, make sure that you recover just as hard as you work. And so, it's a process. Guys they want to stay up, they want to get on the video game sometime, they want to talk to their girlfriends, so it's a struggle. But I think especially our returners, I think they're starting to get it. And then, they're actually helping us with our younger guys as well.
Great. And can you give us one tip on how to keep athletes, how to hold athletes accountable, especially when you work with young athletes that I guess their life on the court when they play against players of the same age is pretty easy compared to the one of an NBA player.
Yeah. It's consistency. I think when your actions always match your words, I think that's something that they respect, and it's something that allows you as a coach, as a mentor, to kind of help them understand, how serious things get as you move up in level. And it's something that we talk about often, because they say, hey, I want to go to the NBA. Well, if you really want to, then you're going to do a whole lot more of the things that are going to help you get there than you are the things that aren't going to help you get there. And so it's up to you. We can't want it more than you do. You have to figure that out, on your own. Do you really want to be here? And if you really want to be here, then you will get up, when you're supposed to. You'll be on time. You'll work. We won't have to coach effort. It's not about you knowing everything, but you do have to go hard. You have to make sure that you work hard to prepare yourself to get to where you want to get to. And so when that message is consistent, when you don't allow deviations from that process to go, without consequence, I think that's really the only way. I think, especially working with the population that I'm working with right now, if you say something, you have to follow through, and if they don't really meet the standard, then there has to be some kind of consequence so that they understand how serious things are.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. All right, James. Usually we finish off with 3 rapid fire questions.
Sounds
Ready?
good.
So, first one, your favorite exercise in the weight room?
Ooh, my personal favorite, I like the pull. So pull-ups, I like pull-ups. But if I just had to do one, especially with these guys that I'm working with, I would say an RDL or some other deadlift variation.
I like it. Your favorite book on strength and conditioning?
That's another good one. Man, that one is tough. My favorite is tough. Super Training, I guess, because it was like the first, like the foundational, the foundational one. And then there are some that lean more towards the clinical side that I like as well. But if I had to pick one, I would say Super Training.
Do you read it cover to cover?
I haven't read it cover to cover, but it's something that I revisit. It's something that I revisit. Like I'll look at it from time to time. But that one it's more nostalgic. It was one of the first ones that was recommended to me by a guy that I really respect a lot, and so I said, all right, I have to check that one out.
Sure. Last one athlete you would like to work with, not basketball related, of course.
Let me see. That one is tough too, man. You have some good ones. Simone Biles.
Great. All right, James. If some of our listeners would like to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So I'm not a social media guy, but I will happily give my email address, and my email address is jhdii1979@gmail.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I guess that's social media. So, but yeah, as far as like Twitter and that kind of stuff, I'm not on there at all. But LinkedIn, just look up James Davis. James H. Davis III is what I'm listed under, and I'm always up for a chat.
All right, great. It was a great episode. Thank you very much for spending some time with us and being my guest on my show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This is a wrap on episode 42 of Sport Vitamins. If you guys like this episode, please subscribe to the channel and don't forget to share this episode on your social media. And remember that you can find Sport Vitamins on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. Until next time, guys, I'm out.